Hello, I'm David Chaston with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This is where you get everything you need to know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock, including news of skittish global markets. But first up today, the latest global dairy trade auction overnight saw prices rise 1.4% in US dollars. But because our currency also suddenly surged on the news, the overall prices in New Zealand dollars actually fell 0.4%. Prices were up for butter and whole milk powders, but fell for cheese and skim milk powders. Volumes sold were a respectable 50,800 tonnes, and $134 million worth of product was sold. Even though you could not claim this was a strong auction, it is the highest rise in 17 auction events, and since January 21. Markets noticed and seem to be crediting the difference we have as a soft commodity producer as opposed to other hard commodity economies. And this news is in contrast to weaker than expected data out of the US. Weakness in retail sales and car sales, along with producer prices, were only very minor and only marginally lower than expectations, but markets are nervous about what is going on in Europe, and it was enough to see a strong sell-off on Wall Street. In late afternoon trade, the Dow is below 16,000 and the S&P 500 is approaching 1,800, both now a very long way from their 2014 highs. It is a big sell-off, and this is despite a fairly upbeat Beige Book from the US Federal Reserve. Also, a much larger than expected US federal budget surplus for September seemed to impress no one. Adding to the gloom, an RBA official warned of a violent crash, citing the 1994 global bond market crash as a good example. The assistant governor in the RBA said at a conference in Sydney that there were several reasons to suspect that the next sell-off, particularly in bonds, could be relatively violent when it comes. His warning comes just as worldwide bonds make spectacular gains. In China, consumer inflation moderated to 1.7% in September, down quite noticeably from 2% in August. The US Treasury 10-year yields continued their spectacular fall today and are now at only just 2.06%. Bond investors have seen the value of their holdings jump dramatically since the beginning of October. New Zealand swap rates fell yesterday on the previous move down and are likely to fall even further on this morning's even steeper decline. Even China's swap rates slumped. The oil price just keeps falling and is now just over $81 a barrel, with the Brent just over $84 a barrel. These are huge moves down and will rock the oil industry. Gold, on the other hand, has taken a good jump and is now up to $1,245 an ounce. We start today with our currency levels sharply higher across the board. New Zealand dollar is up more than a cent at 79.4 US cents, up to 90.9 Aussie cents, and the TWIs are just a tad under 77. I'm David Chaston. That was 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz.